What up, fam? I'm Dr. De Luna, and you are listening to Drop It Like It's Doc podcast. Today we have on Tatiana Koval. She is a phenomenal personal trainer and nutrition coach. Today we talk all about her journey into personal training, and we talk a lot about the bullshit that comes up in the fitness industry. This is an episode that you're going to want to listen to if you're working on your body in any respect, if you have any fitness goals, or if you're just looking for some answers as to how to be your optimal self. Thanks for being here. Hi, Tatiana.
Hi, Miss DeLuna.
What a dream to have your gorgeous self sitting across from me in the jungle room.
Welcome to the jungle, baby.
Welcome to the jungle. It is an honor to have you on. I am so excited to, first and foremost, learn about you and to share your story with my viewers.
Woo.
Yes. And before we dive into all the juicy details, I just want to speak to you from my heart as to why you are here. And the great thing is that I really don't know much about you, but what I do know about you is your essence. And it's such a fun, playful, childlike, but sexy, badass essence. And you always show up as yourself. I love how confident you are. I love how you shamelessly show off your gorgeous body that you have worked so hard to build and to create. I love how you empower women. I love how you are truly your full self. And I don't have anyone on this podcast that isn't comfortable being their true selves. And I am just so happy that you show up in the way that you do, because it allowed me to see you at your core without knowing who you are outside of that.
Yay. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so inspired by you. I'm just going to love bomb you back. I mean, why not?
Okay.
I'm so inspired by you, and I loved being surrounded by intelligent, strong women and men, not just women, but I love having women in my circle that I feel comfortable referring my clients to, that I feel comfortable talking to, that I know if I go to talk to them, it's not going to be a surface level conversation, because I have no time for those nowadays. And you're just a breath of fresh air in the medical industry, to say the least, and you're a wealth of knowledge, and I love to learn from you and to just see everything that you share, post. I'm a fan of the podcast also, so it's a blessing to be on it, and I'm excited to dive in today.
Yay. Wonderful. I love our love story, because we met on social media.
We did meet through social media.
Yeah. And look at us now, in the flesh.
In the
thriving.
flesh.
Is this a heart?
This is a heart.
Oh, I've never done that. That was really cute. Oh,
Yes, first time for everything on Drop It Like It's Doc.
Exactly. We'll keep it flowing and growing. So, my dear, I would love to just learn a little bit about you, because I see you sitting before me as this, fitness queen. But what was your journey like to become a personal trainer, to become a nutritionist, to do all the things that you do?
How much time do we have?
How much time do we have? We have endless time.
Okay, so yes, I am a personal trainer. I'm a nutrition coach. I teach yoga. I try to kind of bring all this stuff together, as far as the way that I see fitness and the way that I work with other people isn't just about what you look like. And I have no problem saying that's important, because it's fun to look good. And when you're working that hard in the gym, it's fun to see the changes that you're trying to apply show up on your body. But I think that the reason that you continue to train and you stick with it isn't really about the physical. It's so much deeper than that. There's so much that develops from the gym. I feel like the gym is a perfect metaphor for life, as far as how you show up for yourself, the things that you say to yourself when you're working out, the way that you're willing to challenge yourself, the discipline, the work ethic. It's a great place to make friends. I just definitely practice what I preach, because I love it so much. But, okay, so I actually went to college for kinesiology pre-physical therapy. And I went into it because when I grew up, I was a competitive gymnast. So I've always loved movement and pushing myself. And I fractured my back when I was 15 and a half, and I had to quit. And then I kind of just didn't know what I was doing. And that was sophomore year of high school. So I had 2 years, and I was like, okay, I'll try to do physical therapy, because I had to go to physical therapy for the spine injury. Then when I went into college, I really liked the classes. I loved the nutrition classes. I loved the kinesiology classes, but I didn't like any of my internships at all. I thought they were, which I'm sure you can attest to with being, in the medical industry, they were so forced. I feel like most of the physical therapists, it was very forced. It was the ones I was going to, and I know there's some out there who aren't, but it was negative. It was boring to me. And when I finished college, that's what my degree was in. So I was like, okay, I don't really know what I want to do, but I don't want to do this. And I started working at a gym just because I had the option, basically. And when I started there, I was really fortunate because there was a studio in the gym who was kind of doing a startup. So they were trying to train people like really, really well. And I started teaching Pilates for them in bar. And then they had a yoga teacher training, and I really wanted to do that, but I wasn't going to be able to afford it. There was no way. And a donor who took my class paid for me to take the training. Still have no idea who it is. I know.
Oh,
isn't that crazy?
it's amazing.
Yeah, so they wanted to remain anonymous, and I have an idea, but my idea, I have like 2 to 3 people I think it could be, so I'll never know. But it's just funny because you don't notice in the moment, but now when I look back, I see that as like a huge like turn in the person that I became, because me doing that when I think I was like 22, I was either 21 or 22, me getting to do that training really opened my eyes to like spirituality and just a huge world out there that I started diving into. And that's how I started deciding to combine fitness with spirituality and wellness instead of just focusing on the weightlifting. And to me, that's what I feel like draws the people to me that it does, is that we dive a lot deeper than just the weightlifting.
Yes. Epic. What a beautiful story. And I think that a common thread in this podcast, which I didn't even realize that it was going to be, was how these moments of life where we think that everything is crumbled. I mean, a spinal injury is quite severe. It's significant. It changes your life without a doubt. It changes the way that you show up in your body. But that was your invitation to find out what you were supposed to do and guide you to those next steps. So that's beautiful. I love that so much. And I mean, clearly you have healed from that. And what was that like, being an athlete and then getting a spinal injury and being a competitive gymnast and having to stop?
It was really sad. Yeah. Like, that's the most surface level way to explain it, but it was like extremely jarring for me and for people who do sports like that at a young age. I had practice 5 times a week for 4.5 hours, and I was going to school. A lot of people that I competed with got taken out of school. I was going to school and then I would do that afterwards, but it was like the only thing I liked to do. I loved it so much. Even though I was there like 25 hours a week, I would practice at my house. I would like think about it all the time. I was obsessed. And after I got injured, I had to obviously take time off and like recuperate, but they let me go back and I was just scared to do everything. It was such a different experience. So I feel like for me, for a while, and I think people can connect to this, if there's something you were really passionate about that didn't go how you wanted it to in an ideal world, you get kind of like jaded by it. Like, I didn't want to watch like my mom would be like, oh, the Olympics is on. And I would be like, okay, like I didn't want to watch people do it anymore. I was like super detached from it. And now I don't feel like that at all, but I definitely needed to do some healing around it. So yeah, it was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Injuries are crazy.
Injuries are crazy. When I was maybe 12 or 13, I've always wanted to be famous, honestly, which was just it's kind of fun that I have this podcast.
I was going to say you're on the way.
But I always wanted to be a famous dancer. I always wanted to be a ballerina. And I twisted my ankle when I was like 12 or 13, and my right ankle has never been the same. And I have a similar feeling where it changed my life. And I honestly think that's what guided me to yoga, though, because once I found that yoga practice in which I was able to move in my body in a way that felt safe and that it wasn't so competitive. And I mean, gymnastics is quite competitive, but ballet, you know, too, it's just very structured and there's a lot of negativity in the undertone of it. So that's a big reason why I fell in love with yoga, and also fell in love with just shaking my ass for the hell of it without having to be, you know, in a certain box. But yeah, injuries change us.
Yeah. It's funny too, because you with the ballet and then me with gymnastics, and now I feel like we have a lot in common as adults, but I remember I was very reserved when I was little. I don't know if you had that, but it was definitely a lot to do with always having to be like structured, being compared to each other, like publicly in front of everybody else, like that kind of thing. So it's funny now that we are looking back, because I can see what things started allowing me to open up and be myself. And it's so funny too, because when you were giving the introduction and you were like, you're yourself fully, I really feel that for me. And it wasn't always like that at all, because I was the most shy kid ever.
What?
And it was so weird. And I'm like not like that whatsoever now. So it's kind of like so many of these things had to happen to make you like bloom and be comfortable showing up.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're really good at showing up.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I try.
And it shows. It does show. And I think that, I mean, I only know what my life has been like, but being a woman is hard. And being raised in this country was really hard. Being told how you should look and how you should dress and how you should show up. And, you know, maybe let's transition in that way, because you do show up as yourself, and you show up as this really strong, badass woman who was also comfortable with her masculine, but who's also comfortable, you know, throwing on stripper heels and going pole dancing. So what was that like, just showing those parts of you?
Honestly, because we're talking about mainly social media right now, correct?
Well, yeah, but then just life. Like, that's just a reflection of how you are in your life, right? And you're comfortable being
in
that
life
on social media.
Okay, because that's what I was trying to like see the things from, because in life, it's very comfortable for me to try everything and to have fun and to just be myself. But through social media, I used to have a hard time doing that. And I really had to get over the bridge and being like, what is the point of like me worrying about what somebody else might perceive from something that I share or that I post, as long as it's not hurting anyone. And I would never try to cause anybody to feel like less than because they're not doing what I'm doing. I would never want anyone to feel like, I would never put anyone down. But if somebody feels triggered because I'm going to go to a pole dancing studio and do well, that's definitely on them. But I used to be like, I shouldn't share this because it's not professional. And then I would, just me in my 7-inch heels swinging around. I would be like, I shouldn't share this because it's not professional. But then I was like, my goal in life is to inspire people to go all out. And my goal in life is to inspire people to live their passions. And right now I'm passionate about this and this is fun. So me sharing it is directly going to bring the people I want to be around to me. So I was like, why am I not doing it? And then now I just share anything I want.
You're speaking to my soul, sister. You really are. And I think that you fucking nailed it on the head, in that if you are yourself, then you draw the people to you that are supposed to see you. And of course, things fade away that were never meant for you, that are not vibrating at that same frequency, but your people will find you. And I mean, you're a badass and you own your own business and you have your own, you know, clientele that finds you because of that. And if you didn't show up in that way, who knows, you would maybe get people that you don't want to work with.
That's what I was thinking for you just now. I was like, I'm sure some of the things as a doctor that you share makes people like, it's like such an issue. But then if you had that person sitting in your room, I bet you would be like, I feel like I'm not the doctor for you because you're going to have an issue with anything I say. So it's better that you share how you see the medical system so that people can come to you who are in alignment with that and you can actually help them heal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I want patients that I can go
Shake
to
their ass.
Exactly. Like I can go to these places with, that I can see them out in public and where we're just living in our own best selves and we just happen to find each other in that way. So couldn't agree more. And with you and your business, what was it like starting a business and calling those people in and integrating in nutrition? I would love to just learn a little about that.
It was, again, a journey. When I did start working at the gym that I mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, I feel really lucky that I had the opportunity to be trained by some of the people I was trained by there. And at that point, I was only teaching group fitness, and I was actually teaching at like 4 different places, and I was working at 2 bars. So I would go and teach the fitness stuff in the morning, and then I would go into one of the bars, usually at like noonish until like 6, and then I would go to the other one at 9 p.m. to 2.
Wow.
And the money that I was making at the bars was so much more than what I was making in fitness, but I would treat it completely different because the energetics were completely different. Like I would get my little check from teaching the classes, and I was like, go deposit it to the bank, and then I would get my like cash chips at the bars and just go like blow them. Yeah. It was just so interesting. And when I was teaching the group fitness classes, people would ask me in the class all the time if I did personal training, and I had a personal training license, but I wasn't doing it. So I would just be like, no. And eventually I was like, this is like such a grind. I need to figure something else out. So I went and started renting a studio where you pay rent and they give you a key. So that's basically me starting my own business, but I was putting it on a credit card every month because I had like no money. And I was like, let me just see how it goes. And I really felt at that time, because I was really young and I had like student loans and I actually didn't have like things to fall back on. I really felt in my soul like this is me betting on myself right now. And it called people in quick and I was stoked. And then eventually I transferred to doing that all fall, and then COVID happened and I was doing some online training, but not like a ton. And that's when I launched a group program, which you spoke on. And that's actually how we met each other. But I launched a group program, and now I've ran the group program 5 times. So it just kind of, I guess the snowball starts rolling, and it's like, now I can call in this, now I can call in this. But when I did start training the women that I was training initially, I just really realized how much misinformation there is around nutrition, especially also around fitness, but tons around nutrition. And I found that that was a really healing avenue for me to be providing to the women that I was working with, because in my opinion, food is literally the way that you heal yourself. And I always like to tell the people I work with, I'm like, we forget that what you consume is what's going to create every single cell in your body. But for some reason, we're like sold these things that aren't even real food. And people would come in all the time with like an energy drink and a protein bar all the time. And I was like, okay, this is what I need to really be trying to dive deeper on, which is what we do in the online training communities a lot, is group calls around that. And those are the things that came through when I was first starting.
Amazing. And I'm so happy that you do that piece of the puzzle, because it is, what's even the word that I want to use? Infuriating, I suppose. Sometimes when I go through a daily basis as to what my patients eat in a day, and they'll be like, yeah, my trainer told me to restrict my calories to 1,000 calories a day because that's how I'm going to lose weight. And they gave me this little supplement that's supposed to help me go into burn mode. And
all these words are fake.
They're all fake, and they're all, and some people aren't even aware that supplement companies aren't even regulated in this country at all. Not one law says that what is inside of a capsule is what is on the label. So you could just be getting sold these supplements from bros, essentially, that are like making millions off of you thinking that you're going to lose a pound.
It makes zero sense.
It makes no sense. And it's devastating. So I am so happy that when someone comes in with a protein bar and an energy drink and they're like, look, Tati, like I'm eating breakfast, I'm doing good. You're like, did you eat food today?
Yeah.
Did you eat real food?
Yeah.
And how many individuals that you work with, is that kind of a big part of the first step of you're not eating enough to even build muscle?
I mean, it's huge. And I feel like nutrition is very specific from person to person. So of course, and obviously you know that, but not everyone would have the same, like that they do need to be eating less, that they need to be eating more, whatever it may be. But there is a huge amount of people who are just not eating real food. And that's like step number 1. And I think as personal trainers and nutrition coaches, the tendency is to like overcomplicate things, where especially when you said like, this will bring me into burn mode, this will do this, like people will start explaining all this stuff to a person that's just starting their journey, and they're like lipolysis, like thermogenesis, all these things. And it's like, and I know, and not even to like knock other trainers, because obviously it's because they're trying, but I'm like, where's step 1? Like, did they drink any water today? Because tons of women that I work with will drink coffee in the morning, won't eat anything. Later they'll have like avocado toast. Later they'll have like pasta, not drinking any water though, and eating primarily carbs, like simple carbs. And then like fillers. There's a lot of freaking fillers out there.
So many.
It's hard to navigate. If you don't know what you're doing, it's hard to navigate. And social media, I think too, since everyone has a platform now, can be really helpful, but also can make it even harder to navigate.
I can't even tell you how many patients will come to me and be like, yeah, I did this. And I can't even think of the word because it's some fad word that I never learned because I live under a rock. So I don't know these fads, but they learn on social media all these things. And not only does it come with a special diet, it comes with special supplements. And of course, the person that's selling you those supplements are making money. And I fully agree with you. There's no one size fits all in anything medicine, and not necessarily in nutrition either. But I do know that those fads never work. At all.
And they can work for a very short period of time. It's one of those things where it's like you can see results from virtually any diet, but the issue isn't seeing the result. The issue is finding it to be a lifestyle and being able to maintain the result. You see all the time the 30-day changes, the like 3-month changes, but then it's like, are you miserable? Is your body fatigued? Are your adrenals fatigued? Are you stressed? Are you sad? Are you actually nourishing yourself? There's like a lot of nuances within the results or no results.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, even with the the pieces of, the fad will work for a little bit, it's because someone, and I would even see this when I was vegan, when people be like, yeah, I went plant-based and I felt so much better. It's because maybe for that first chapter of their life, they actually ate vegetables and they actually ate whole foods. So they see this dramatic shift. But if it's not a lifestyle change, if it's not something that you are going to integrate into your daily life, then it's not going to stick, and it's not supposed to. And I even think about our grandparents. Like, they were all, for the most part, fit until food started to change. And now people think that it's a lack of a pill. It's not. It's never been.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast and they were saying that this is like the first time ever that like 40% of children are obese.
That's
and
beautiful.
It's so sad.
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
It's crazy. Yeah. So I think to this piece, those of you who are listening who want something tactical to think about, I always tell my clients to prioritize the food that looks as closely as it did when it was found in nature. So I'm not telling you guys that you can't be vegetarian or vegan, but I'm going to say animal meats, fish, eggs, vegetables, nuts, seeds, things that really look close to what it was when it was natural, because nature was here before us. It's going to be here after us. It's there to fuel you. It's there to make you healthy. So when you're at the grocery store, you're shopping on the outskirts of the grocery store, being really mindful of what's in the center of the grocery store, because it's highly likely in boxes. It's highly likely very processed. There's probably a lot of additives. There's inflammatory oils, high sugar. We want to avoid the fake shit with food and life.
Yes, queen. Avoiding all the fake shit.
Literally.
But people like quick fixes.
People like quick fixes.
I mean, and we're in California right now. So
That's true.
We're in the land of quick fixes. We're in the land of nip and tuck. Just, cover it on up. Keep smoking your cigarettes. Keep eating your fast food. We got this. But it always comes down to diet and lifestyle. And of course, what you're doing physically with your body. But for me, when I was vegan for so long, and well, even before I was vegan, I was raised on processed food. I only ate fast food. I didn't eat my first vegetable until high school. And I'm really not even joking. I wish I was, because that's concerning. But my brain developed. It developed just fine. And I always tell it to my parents of my patients that are like, is my child going to develop? I'm like, I didn't eat a vegetable until I was 16. They're going to be fine. But I remember it's interesting that I'm almost a case study on myself, because I've watched my body change. I've always been small. I'm 5'2". My weight barely has changed, but my physical structure has changed dramatically from when I ate primarily processed foods to when I was vegan to now where I eat meat. And I'm probably the most toned I've ever been. I work out the least I ever have, but it's just because I eat so balanced that my body just found its new set point. And I think that people really do not put enough weight onto the food piece. And I'm just truly so happy that you do this.
The food piece is the biggest piece.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Like, I'll be the first to say, I love chocolate. I love ice cream. I'm a fan of margaritas, espresso martinis sometimes. I'm not like the one to be like, I can only have this healthy thing. But I primarily do have the healthy things because of what my goals are for my life. And that goes back to the quick fixes again. There's definitely things you can do. So, okay, I'm gonna take a little fork in the road right here, because this is something I think is interesting too on that piece. From an aesthetic perspective, you can look fit and only eat beige foods. You can have chicken and rice. You can have steak and potatoes. You can have like pasta and beef. And I know a lot of male bodybuilders who are living that life. You can look healthy, but that doesn't mean internally you are healthy, which I'm sure can go on like a whole thing about this, because in my mind, I see people who eat like that and I see into their body, it's like gray. It's like brown. That's how I feel. Yeah.
I say this all the time. People argue with me, especially when I went public on social media with me moving from vegan to eating animals. It was kind of an issue, especially in the yoga world. And so many people would give me backlash, and I would say, when's the last time you checked your blood? When's the last time you checked your hormones? When's the last time you checked your vitamins or minerals? Because you don't know. You really don't know. I mean, I can get a feel for it because I study people for a living, but you really have no idea until you look inside of your body. And I think that a lot of people don't even consider doing that because they feel healthy or they feel, well enough. But even earlier when you were speaking to, lipolysis and thermogenesis and these words that, trainers love to throw out and are big fad words that people think that you could just shove yourself into, those all depend on hormones. And your hormones all depend on your inflammation and what you're eating and your nutritional levels and your stress and all of it. So if you want to be truly healthy and if you want to get your body in the best possible shape ever and, you know, just get yourself to this next level, you do need to know what's going on with your hormones. And you do need to know if you're getting enough nutrition, because yes, you can eat all these foods, you can get plenty of macros in, but if you're not getting any micronutrients, none of those enzymes are even going to function. None of the keys are going to turn to get you into burn mode or whatever the fuck it is that you're trying to do.
Absolutely. I like to oversimplify this. And of course, this isn't like the end all be all, but I like to say macronutrients control like how you look and micronutrients control how you feel and how your processes are running. Of course, it's a lot deeper than that. I tell them that on calls because I'm like, that's a good takeaway that like you want to be, depending on what your goals are, you want to know about macronutrients and how to properly fuel yourself, especially if you're training with a trainer and your goal is aesthetics. You're going to want to know some of that. But if you want to feel good and you want to have nice skin, you want to have good energy, you want to have nice hair, you're going to be needing to eat some different colored fruits and vegetables and getting in those vitamins and minerals.
And salt, baby.
Yes.
I love salt. You know this, though. You know I love salt.
She's a salty girl.
I'm a salty bitch. I am. But minerals, my mind went to 5 different places when you were talking. But since we're on the shortcut thing, I'm going to go here first and then we're going to go into ass. We're going to go into all ass after this. But as far as what we're going to say about short-term fixes, what do you see as far as performance enhancing drugs and things? And do you see that impact results? And just tell me everything.
Short-term fixes. That's what I see.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So for those of you who don't know me, I am competing in a fitness competition. It's actually a month away now. So it's the World Championships.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know this. We'd be a world champion in the studio.
Not yet.
No,
but
sure.
at this competition, we'll see how it goes. So I'm competing in the World Championships, and performance enhancing drugs are obviously a huge component in the fitness industry. And I guess I don't want to say component. I want to say they're a huge thing that they're very prevalent in the fitness industry. Prevalent for men and prevalent for women. I do not think anybody should be doing that to themselves, really, because it affects so much more than what you look like, you guys. I think us being in Southern California, like we discussed, things like that are very accessible and they're very sold to people, and the way that they're sold downplays every single effect aside from that you're going to look leaner or you're going to look more muscular or you're going to feel stronger. And that might be true, but there's so many side effects that you would honestly know way more about than I would. But I do know people who have taken that route, and I don't know many people who are young that it worked out really well for. I will speak to the women on this one, but your bodies are so complex and they're so naturally beautiful, and you can do so much from an aesthetic standpoint if that's the reason you're gonna go to performance enhancing drugs with hard work. It's gonna take more time, but if you're a cyclical being and you have these 4 phases and you're completely just skyrocketing different hormones up to see your muscle change, down the road it's gonna be a lot deeper of a thing you're gonna have to come to terms with. So I just don't think it's worth it.
Yeah. I'm so happy that you brought up the cyclical part, because you know I love this, and you know I spoke to your babes on it when you did your group. But most studies on fitness or on even like intermittent fasting or changing body composition, every single one was not only on men, they were on white men. And I mean, every type of human on this planet is slightly different, but I know for damn sure having a womb makes you very different than someone who does not have a womb. And being cyclical means that there's certain times of the month where you working out in the way that you would, say, around ovulation or late follicular would skyrocket your cortisol to the point that now your body is in storage mode, because our stress hormones tell your body, do we want to store? Do we want to burn? Is it safe? Is it not safe? And a lot of what we do creates this internal dialogue of, oh, it's not safe. We are in survival mode. And that can then impact, you know, all of our hormones. It can impact our gut. It can impact our mental health. It can impact our sleep. It can impact our fertility. So I am really happy that you do educate your humans on that, because, you know, maybe someone's feeling exhausted because they're about to bleed on their period. And because of that, then they drink 5 energy drinks, or they take, you know, a certain supplement that's a pre-workout that will just get them going. But they don't know now that they are going to now miss their period. And everything is thrown off. And I could go on and on and on about it, but huge fan of people listening to their bodies.
Yeah.
Really huge fan of that.
One thing I think that's tough too, that I see a lot, is with the performance enhancing drugs with men and women too, a lot of people get it given to them by somebody and there's no sort of follow-up or protocol. And it's just crazy to think about, but it's all around us and being in Southern California. And even if it's something like things for women to make you lean out quicker or to like dry out, that's a bodybuilding term. It's like to bring out, you're like, why would I want to dry out? It's like to like tighten everything
up.
Up.
Diuretic? Does it just make you pee everything out of your body?
I mean, there's
a girl that's never taken a performance enhancing anything.
There's definitely some that are like diuretics, yes, but all of the stuff, I think what's so important that people don't think about is that if you were someone who was doing that to get lean and then you stop, if your body is so stressed and your adrenals are so fatigued, once you stop doing anything, you're gonna gain weight even easier than before because it's not gonna be, in thermogenesis, it's not gonna be burning well. You're gonna be very, very, very susceptible to having a very low metabolism. You're gonna be, and I can't imagine after that happens too, the impact on your mental health, because now you're going from being super fit to not so fit, and you don't feel good, and you're tired, and it didn't work out how you were sold this thing. So just beware. Talk to people who know. Yes, a woman's body. Talk to people who know a woman's body.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I see this all the time in that I'll be sitting across from someone, we'll be going through what they eat on a daily basis. We talk about their goals. A lot of women that I work with want to lose weight, which, is fine. We can do that. We can work on your body. And then we go through what they eat on a daily basis. And they tell me that they're barely eating. And then we discuss how hormones work. We discuss how insulin works. We discuss how cortisol works. We discuss how, we are cyclical beings. And then I tell them what I would like them to eat in a day. I give them goals. We kind of outline breakfast, lunch, dinner, and I watch almost the blood drain from their face, their eyes in this state of horror. And I can feel from them that they're freaking out that they're going to lose weight. And I can promise you that not one of them gained weight when they ate more, not one of them, because it shifted that internal message to, oh, it's safe. This is fuel. We use this, because I also like to educate my humans on this and that. If we're starving ourselves, your body almost thinks that it's in hibernation. It feels as if it doesn't know when it's going to get its next meal. So it keeps it stores it all. And for people listening to this, you'll know that your body is in a very stressed state, in a very hypercortisol adrenal overdrive if you're gaining most of your weight in your lower belly and your thighs, which women think it's their love handles and they think it's this or that, but it's stress. So, not eating or not eating enough or pushing your body in a way that it shouldn't be can be the reason why you can't lose weight.
Yeah. I think it's really eye-opening too. I'm sure when you're laying out the nutrition protocol for your patients, a lot of people, at least that I work with, aren't eating a lot of food, but they're eating a lot of calories.
Yes.
So that's the thing that I think it's hard for people to understand, because I'll put up what I eat in a day sometimes, and it will be a lot of different foods. And somebody will be like, well, like we talked about, the coffee in the morning is so common. So people drink the coffee on an empty stomach, they'll wait. A lot of people do like a peanut butter bread, an oatmeal, or like an avocado toast. Those are all very just carbs. Like, you're missing the protein. There's not much fat. They'll have something like a salad or something for lunch. And then at dinner, it's like a pasta or like a pizza or something. And then they're having like ice cream or chocolate. And if you looked at that, it's literally like 4 items. It's very small volume. But if you look at the calorie count, like a Ben and Jerry's, for example, and I love Ben and Jerry's. I'm not telling you guys to avoid Ben and Jerry's by any means, but a canister is 4 servings. I don't know anyone who eats it in 4 servings. I know like 2 servings, maybe 1 serving, but it's usually never 4. So if you're eating like half of it and you're accidentally eating like 600 or 700 calories, it's not going to seem like you ate a lot of food because you just had a little bit of ice cream, but it's just a very calorie dense food. It's very sugar heavy, versus if you were someone who is having like some salmon and some vegetables, if you're having like a steak, if you're having eggs, it's a completely different makeup of macronutrients because you're hitting the protein, and it's going to end up being low calories. So you can eat way more and you'll lose way more weight. You'll feel way stronger. But again, this just goes back to eating primarily whole foods. people also tend to not binge eat whole foods, which is something that I think is important for people who are on that path to think about too. Is you never hear about somebody like binge eating a chicken salad. You know what I mean? Like that's definitely coming from, you just can't get enough of like the sweet potato. But the thing is, it's the processed foods because they're hyper palatable. They're very addicting and they're designed for us to go back and eat more and more and more. If you guys deep dive into this, it's actually mind blowing the way that food is designed for us to become addicted to it. So we keep buying it. So all of these things just tie together. The more you know, the more you know.
The more you know, the more you know. I absolutely agree. Yeah, the food game. I mean, yeah, it's all like the crunchy, salty, sweet. They add all sorts of shit to it. But some people, they don't even realize that they haven't eaten food their entire lives. I didn't eat food my entire life until I moved to California. I really didn't. I know I didn't. I'm confident in that. And it's just a shame that people, it's almost like you are in a different league if you do eat real food. And people are like, you eat that? What do you mean? You don't eat this? No, I eat real food.
It's so funny that you say that because it seems like if you're eating something unhealthy, everyone's on your team. Yeah. And as soon as you switch to something healthy, everyone like wants to know like who you think you are. Yeah. Like, what do you like? And you're like, this is nourishing. This is good for all of us on like the deepest level. But people do get very triggered by healthy eating.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like, I just like it. I'm sorry. I've got issues my whole life. I don't want them anymore. Thank you.
Yeah, you get addicted to how you feel.
Yeah.
When you start, and not even just from a nutrition perspective, but I think when you start having deeper conversations with people, when you start being around high energy people, you get addicted to that like momentum of like becoming the person that you see for yourself or that you want to be. It's hard, I think, to go back to the old ways because when you do, even if it's a time that's appropriate, like you're having like a cheat meal or something, it kind of like it's a little different. Like it's not the same as it used to be because there's like it's not as carefree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also I think that at least in my body, I was so disconnected to how food made me feel for so long because it wasn't necessarily something I was doing for nourishment. It was all mental. It was a dopamine rush. It felt good. It was satisfying a craving. I would eat to fill voids or to calm emotion. And when I started actually eating to nourish my body, it completely changed just that feeling for me. And now I don't want to eat those foods because my mind doesn't need it and my body sure as hell doesn't need it. But I will also say to the listeners that if there is something that you're eating, eat it. Be there fully for it. Tell your body it's medicine. Enjoy it. Let yourself savor that experience because if you are, and I have a lot of patients that have, done a lot of work on what they're eating. And now when they sit down and they go out to eat with their family, they're very stressed. The whole time they're sick because they don't know what to order. They're freaking out the whole time thinking about it. When it's in their mouth, they're barely chewing it and then they feel sick after versus if they were like, oh, this is a meal with my family. I'm gonna have fun. This is a beautiful experience. My body can handle this. It's no big deal. It's just a completely different outcome of that same meal. So I always like to educate my patients on that. Of course, you want to eat real whole foods. Of course, you want to make the healthiest decisions possible, but you are also a human and your body will be able to handle it and everything in moderation, right?
Yeah, you definitely don't want to go too far either direction. Yeah. I feel like, and I agree, like with what I was saying about it is addicting to keep with that momentum, but I don't want you guys to think that statement meant like as soon as you have something unhealthy, it's like bad, because that's not the case. I have things that, like I have Justin's peanut butter cups every week and it doesn't mess with my goals at all. I'm still going to be the same. Like you don't eat one thing and have it completely change your body from a physiological standpoint, but also from a physical standpoint. That's just not how it works. We are very resilient. Your body is very resilient. It's not going to bounce back from having like a meal that is not super common for you. In fact, it's probably a lot healthier if you do have those every once in a while. But yeah, like you said, primarily whole food, but you definitely have to leave room for the fun stuff. Otherwise, you're just like not living.
Yeah, we have to live. We're meant to live.
Meant to live.
Meant to live. So I kind of want to transition a little bit into the booty.
The booty.
We can go anywhere because you have a fabulous booty. I also think I have a fabulous booty, and both of our booties are natural.
Yes, baby. Natural booties.
They are natural booties.
Hashtag
natural booties. So
you better put that under this podcast.
We will. Promise. Done.
Just kidding. You'll probably get like shadow banned.
I don't give a fuck. Booty. That's like the least of the worst that'll come out of my mouth ever. But so for someone who is considering getting a Brazilian butt lift,
ooh,
what would you tell them to do to build an ass?
Oh my gosh. First off, don't get a BBL, please. If that's the only thing you take away from this podcast, don't get a Brazilian butt lift, ladies or gents.
Why?
Okay, so honestly, I'm not even fully aware of what the process is for that. From what I understand, they take fat from a part of your body and put it into your glutes.
Yeah, they usually take it from your abdomen, like all the bad places, and they put it into your butt.
Okay, I need to be careful with my words here because I don't want to offend anybody.
This is what the podcast is for. Offend anyone you want.
You guys, some of these look like a diaper. It looks like the ass is falling off of the body. So first off, I would take that into consideration. Not everybody's is wrong or bad. No one's is wrong or bad. But first off, if you're going to do it, find a good doctor because some of them, I don't want you to be in that situation where your body's trying to recover and heal itself, but simultaneously the surgery didn't go according to plan. Step one. Step two, where do you guys think the fat goes after? Yeah. I mean, you're a doctor. Tell us.
I mean, they just move the adipose tissue from one place to the second.
But where does it go in the second place? Because
they put it in your ass.
I know, but it can't stay there like that. It's going to either migrate or disintegrate or cause other health issues. It's not just going to be here we go forever.
I mean, they claim that it stays in the ass.
It doesn't though, because I know people that have gotten one of them. At a gym I used to work at, there was quite a few girls who had them, and they were starting to train now because it didn't work out how they wanted it to. So they started seeing a trainer, and they would say that it goes down basically, it starts going away. So
I thought you meant down the leg, then you just have a small ass.
I don't know where it goes. It might go down the leg, but it starts migrating filler will migrate. So I don't know, just be aware of what you do to yourself. This goes back to the quick fixes. This is a me thing, so I'm sure you might be in a different circumstance, but the quick fixes never go the way that you think they're gonna go because that's not the point. The point is everything else that develops in the process of getting to that thing. So to answer your question, if you're trying to build your glutes, weight training is extremely helpful for that because you can focus specifically on the muscle that you want to train. So that's to say you don't need to do a crazy out of control workout where you're jumping and you're rowing and you're sprinting and you're doing all these things to get to your goals. You can quite literally focus on the glutes if you want to focus on the glutes, focus on the quads if you want to focus on the quads, focus on your shoulders if you want to round out that delt. So that being said, if you're trying to build your booty, you can get to the gym and you can do glute specific exercises. You also are going to need to eat, which is fantastic that we talked so much about food because when you are in the gym, you are tearing your muscle fibers to rebuild them stronger and with more of a shape. So that's how you get that shaped little tush. So you want to be fueling the workout that you just did. If you're tearing the muscle fiber at the gym, but then you're not giving it any nourishment to rebuild it, you're going to basically be spinning your wheels. So you want enough protein and you want enough carbohydrates to build muscle. You also want enough fats for healthy hormones, but strictly muscle building, you're really going to be focused on your protein and carbohydrate intake, making sure that it's enough to actually build the booty instead of just continuously fatiguing yourself at the gym and then not replenishing the muscle stores.
Yes. And the glutes, those 3 little glutes, they're not little, they're big, they're bulky. You can grow them on up. And it's fun. It's fun to watch your body change.
It's so fun. It's like a transformer.
It is. And I mean, I was a ballerina. You do a lot of extension, which is glutes, and you're holding an arabesque in the air, which is toning the ass. But I think my ass really grew when I lived on top of a hill. Because I would walk up and down this hill at least 5 times a day. Those of you that know Ocean Beach, I lived at the top of Narragansett. It's a tall hill. And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That ass transform just from walking. So even if you're like me, and if you're like, the gym, I don't know if I want to go because we all know I have an ego. We're aware of this. I don't feel like I need to go to the gym. I love my body. I don't have any fitness goals that I'm trying to change. I don't see the need for me to go there. I would just socialize. I would go and flirt. I would go and talk to you.
I'd be surprised if you got in a routine. I know we talked before and you said that.
Though.
But you might not have done it with, you've told me a little bit about your routine before and it didn't sound like a routine.
But what would I do? I don't know. I don't want to. What I'm trying to say is that you could just walk up a hill.
Yeah, well, you could walk up a hill, but there's plenty of fun things. You could learn to do a pull-up. You could do all kinds of stuff where you're like, wow, this is pretty wild. Every girl I know, I've trained so many people that come to me and are like, I don't like the gym. And within weeks, they're obsessed. They love it because you can put in music and you can tune out and you get your endorphins going, you get your serotonin going, you start feeling very powerful and you can challenge yourself in a different way. Not to say you need to go to the gym. You look great regardless. But when you're ready, you're going to love it because everyone ends up loving it.
You know, I'll go to the gym. I'll go.
Give it a little testy test. It depends on the gym too. Some of them, the dynamic and the energy is like very like low. There could be like, it could be dirty, it could be loud, it could be a lot of testosterone.
I'm going to
and then
gym.
I was going to say other places are beautiful and they have natural light and there's like inspiring people around you. The environment matters.
It does.
For sure.
Yeah. And here in San Diego, we have so many incredible gyms.
We are really
As
lucky.
the girl that doesn't go to the gym, but there's so many incredible gyms here.
Yeah, we're lucky here. We're very fortunate.
We are. And this is something I always like to educate my humans on too. Every human is different. The things that our bodies are drawn to are different. And there's so many ways for you to meet your goals by doing things that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's so many ways to explore movement. Dancing, walking, swimming, surfing, skateboarding.
And I think there's different like times for each one in different eras and stuff. Like you like move through stuff. I've went through so many different things that I've liked in terms of fitness. And there's a time and a place for sure. Like somebody who is postpartum, it's going to be a completely different experience than someone who's training for a fitness competition or someone who's like a football player or someone, you know what I mean? But there's plenty of wonderful ways to move your body. You just have to move it.
We have to move it.
Yeah.
And with you do so much on the mental health and the mindset with movement. And something that I'm so passionate about sharing with anyone that I'm working with is when you move your body, you light up your brain. When you light up your brain, you make happy chemicals. So moving is part of what gives you motivation to do anything in your life that you have a goal towards. And it's fun that you probably see that happen with your clients.
Yeah, it really does. Getting into just a routine that you're passionate about just changes everything. It changes, like you said, it's giving you all that, like, it's a movement of energy. It's a wonderful way to process emotions. It's a wonderful way to move things through your body. It's a wonderful way to just get you feeling powerful when you show up at your job, when you show up in conversations, in partnership with your friends. It just changes everything. It's like that aura about you. And there's different ways you can channel it for sure. My favorite is through movement. There's so many other ways that you can do that, but I think movement is such an important part of being a human, which is again why the quick fixes I think don't serve you the way that you might think that they will, because I think to the quick fix point as well, you can think about certain people who get like a lot of money and they're still unhappy. And the whole time they've been thinking it's because they don't have enough money. And then they come into like people who win the lottery and then they lose all the money 2 years later. And then they're like back in the same circumstance. You don't want that instant gratification as a human because you develop so much about your character when you're working towards the goal.
Yes. But I mean, we're in a pretty lazy country.
Yeah, it's wild.
It is wild. It is wild. And for what you do and what I do, it's similar in the sense that we give people knowledge, but we can't do the work for them. I can't tell someone how to eat. I can't force them to eat a certain way. I can't force them to change their diet and their lifestyle and their sleep routine and to take these supplements and to change that. You can't force someone to do a workout. So we have to inspire people to find the motivation within themselves to make the changes so that they do stick, because I don't push pills and I don't give someone a short-term anything.
Yeah. I think it's tough just because so many things since you're little have been sold to you in a different way that you might not learn about until you're older. So it becomes hard to like step away from. But I see a change happening like, I don't want to say globally, but I see a change happening like around us because people are starting to kind of wake up to this. I mean, even for me, when I was growing up and I was doing gymnastics, my parents didn't know either. So they would just like give me Tylenol, like give me anything all the time. I would just like be like, oh, you have a headache, take this. You have like, you're a little bit sore, take this, like all these things. Cause you don't realize the other ways that it's impacting your body, your gut health, your kidneys, your liver, like all these different things. And to see that there's more natural ways to go about it. So I always just vote to try to heal yourself as naturally as possible. Try to get to the goal as naturally as possible. all those things.
Yeah.
Nature, baby.
Nature, baby. And I mean, I'm happy that you even brought up the Tylenol and the aspirin and all that piece, because people don't realize that those things that you're choosing to do on a daily basis are impacting your health long term. Exactly like you said. I mean, Tylenol destroys your liver, aspirin destroys your kidneys and your gut. If people are taking performance enhancing anything, they're typically stimulants, and they're destroying your adrenal glands and your hormones. So even if it's something that you're taking short term, it's going to impact you long term. And something that I feel very passionate about sharing for some reason right now is that a lot of individuals that I work with have gone to different doctors because they say that my hormones are off, and they'll go and then their doctor will give them synthetic hormones to adjust that piece for, to change their body. It's usually women who are, maybe towards the end of their reproductive years, and they're told, oh, your estrogen's low, you should take estrogen, or your testosterone's low and you should take testosterone. But I will say that your hormones are always responding to what's going on in your body. And at different stages of life, your hormones will be drastically different. And also, as a female cyclical being, you have to measure your hormones on certain days of your cycle, or else they are not accurate. And I cannot even tell you how many people have come to me who have said my hormones are low. And then I look at their lab tests and they were tested maybe on their period. And their period is when your hormones are all really low. So now they're taking a hormone that is telling their body to do something that didn't even need that message, or they're taking testosterone and now their voice changes and their clitoris turns into a penis. These are all real things, friends, like truly all real. So I just am a really big fan of not giving your body something that it doesn't need, but also just as a woman, recognizing that usually if your body is low in a hormone, it's not because you need more of the hormone. It's because your body is trying to do something else that it deems more important than fertility.
Yeah. So important to know. And I can attest to that, because I actually, when I came to see Ashley initially, I was coming because I wanted to get my hormones checked again, because I previously had went to a doctor who ran mine and didn't ask what phase of my cycle I was in. I actually brought it up to the doctor before he ran them. And I was like, hey, I was listening at the time to this other podcast that's about fertility, just because I think that female hormones are so fascinating and I love to learn. So that doctor on that podcast had said to test day 4. I think you do day 21.
So day 21 is essential to see what's going on with progesterone. And usually progesterone and estrogen have a certain ratio that you want them at. Day 3 is usually to test your follicular kind of hormonal status, which would tell you about your ovarian health. So that's more so for fertility, to see what your follicles to make a baby would be like on day 3.
Okay. That makes sense, because hers is like a fertility podcast. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when I did go to see him, I was like, do you need to know what phase of my cycle I'm on? And he's like, no, it doesn't matter. Ended up running the hormones anyways. I had a feeling that it wasn't going to be good information. Like, he wasn't going to get the information that we needed, because he just would have no idea like what phase of my cycle I'm in. Get in the car, put on that podcast. She literally says in the podcast, if your doctor doesn't ask what phase of the cycle you're on, I would get a new doctor. As I'm driving home from the appointment,
ironic.
I'm like, I need to find someone else, which brought me to this beautiful young thing over here who gave me so much more insight on my blood work panels and everything. And since then, like 7 of my clients have came to you, and they all rave about you also. So keep doing what you're doing.
I will.
We need this information.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. And I'm grateful that you're so open about sharing with your experience with the medical system and testing your hormones and things, because you are far from alone in that a male doctor says it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's mind-boggling to me now looking back at it, especially just because I asked. It's just like, it's not even a male versus female thing, but it's just like, to me now, it seems like common sense. Even then, it seems like common sense. So I'm just like, what is going on here? Yeah, it is wild. And another major hospital I had my insurance at before I went to other people. They wouldn't care what time of the day they're testing your blood, which now I've learned is completely inaccurate as well. I have clients that were going in to get their hormones ran. They let them go in after they worked out at 5 p.m., after they've been eating all day. And I'm like, what is the point of even doing this unless it's just a business exchange, as a currency exchange, I mean, because you're not going to get the insight you need. you should make a podcast or a post that shows the things that you need to have when you're doing hormone testing, as far as like go in the morning, go before you eat, go at this phase of your cycle, because people are going to read it and be like, this is not how I got tested.
And in general, sweet friends, if you've had your labs tested and if your doctor in general didn't give you any feedback or just said they're normal, that's not helpful information, because there's always data that you get from that blood work. There's always some message that your body is saying that could be preventative or that can be really insightful. So I fully agree that if your doctor does not test your hormones in a way that is precise to what they are investigating and to see what processes are going on in your body, it's because that doctor is not necessarily trying to help you figure out what's going on. They're trying to sell you something, because doctors get paid. We get paid. We get paid when we prescribe stuff, and testosterone, you make a decent amount of money. So, so there's a reason why there's doctors that just are testosterone doctors. Like everyone that goes to them gets testosterone.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like these things, if you go to an appointment and something feels off, I would really listen to that intuition, just because I in my mind, I'm like a doctor's worst nightmare. I'm really not, because I would never like in their face be like, but there's been other times that I've been told things and I literally am like, nah. Like, I'm like, that's not me. Like, that's not the case. And then I find out that that's not the case. I was listening to another podcast that said that if you go to 3 different doctors for an issue, only 8% of the time you immediately get the same diagnosis from them. And they also said that they did a study, and at traditional hospitals, the average time that you get interrupted by the doctor when you're explaining like what's going on is 42 seconds is what they came up with. So this was all on the same podcast. I don't have the stats for it, so don't quote me, but it's just eye-opening, because there is so many things where I'm like, that's what I do love about the fitness and nutrition, is I do feel so like intact with my body, where I know what type of food I need exactly when. Like I know if I need protein, if I need salt, if I need like iron, if I need vitamin C, I can feel it like coming up. And I think it's because of that. Like you just being able to be connected to your body and not disassociating from your body and trusting your body is probably one of the most important things that I could give as a takeaway, is like really listen to those signs. If you're in a doctor's office and they're telling you this thing and you are just like completely overwhelmed, I would get some research, go to someone you trust, Ashley, get a second opinion, all of those things.
Thank you for that. Couldn't agree more. I always educate my patients on this too. I'm just one of the many doctors. You can interview a doctor and then decide if they're a fit for you or not. You can even work with someone and then decide that you've outgrown them and move on. And I love what you said about being in your body and having this deep relationship with it, because that's what moving your body does. It connects your mind to your body, so that you do have this bi-directional pathway of communication, in which so many individuals are just fully disconnected. And I'm a master dissociator. Let me tell you, I am one of the best that this planet has ever seen. And it's hard, even because, you know, I haven't talked about this on the podcast, but I was just in a really bad accident. And it's so ironic, because my last episode recorded in this room was about a friend that almost died in a car accident. Here I am talking about it.
Wow.
But I was so, it did not feel safe for me to be in my body. And I am a yogi. It's what makes me feel good. I'm a dancer. I didn't dance for maybe a month. It wasn't until like a couple weeks ago that I had music on, noticed me like shaking my ass in my kitchen, where I'm like, I'm back, baby. But I would sit down and just try to do yoga, and I would just, the feelings that would come up and the memories that would come up, and it was a lot. So sometimes it's easier to just not be in your body, but that's where all the healing happens. And that's where you are able to process emotions, where you're able to metabolize your experiences, where you're able to integrate and assimilate in your food. Like, it's where everything happens. So fitness and any way that you like to move your body is such a big part of the healing journey. And if people listening to this aren't at that phase yet, know that it might be because you're ignoring feeling something, which again, I'm really good at doing, but you got to feel it. So
yeah, it's funny because I'm actually not super great at processing emotions and different stuff. And that's why I think that fitness works so well for me, because it's one of the ways that I can.
You're moving the energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Moving it well, queen. Moving it well. So, my sweet girl, I always like to close off these conversations by giving you the stage to see if there's any type of love bomb that you have, truth bomb that you have, knowledge bomb that you have, anything that is on the surface of your heart that you want to share with my incredibly phenomenal audience.
Wow. Well, this was so fun. First off, I'm glad that we were able to kind of deep dive into some of those things because I am so passionate about everything that we talked about. And I truly feel that everybody does deserve to feel well and healthy and confident. And sometimes you don't always have the tools to get there, but they are out there. Whatever things that you may be experiencing, it's only temporary. If it's anything that's negative or anything that's down, it's really only temporary. There's so many fantastic ways to start leveling up your life. I think that we had some really good takeaways in here as far as eating real food, drinking clean water, having deep conversations, laughing, dancing, working out, all of those things. And I think for me, I guess my takeaway is just going to be more life. Like, get out there and live. I can't tell you how much I feel like with the day and age that we're in social media, there's so much noise and there's so many opinions being told to us every day. Everyone's an expert right now. But at the end of the day, you know what is best for you. And it might not be the thing right now that's making you the most money. It might not be the thing right now that's making you the most popular, but the thing that makes you feel the best is what I would challenge you guys to dive more into moving forwards. The thing that your younger self loved when you were a little child, dive into that. Whatever the passion is, we're not here for a long time, and it's definitely worth exploring.
Beauteous, just beauteous. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being you. I am so happy that we had this conversation. And how can my beautiful humans find you?
So you guys can find me on Instagram at Lots of Tots. My name is Tatiana. So Lots of Tots with 2 S's, or my website, tonewithtati.com.
Fabulous. If you are looking for any support about anything that we talked about, this is your girl. I mean, look at her, and I would learn anything from you. I mean, she might even get me to go to the gym. Who's to say? Miracles are happening before our eyes.
Let's just count on you coming into the gym at least once. I think you'll have so much fun. And then that booty is going to get even more booty-y.
No, I'll come. I'm coming. It's very exciting. But thank you so much, Tatiana. It was an honor to have this conversation with you, and you'll be back for everything.
I would love that.
Thanks for tuning in, fam.